Morning, one and all. In the last class, we discussed about the introduction regarding the ATAM, the participants in the ATAM. So we are having three types of participants: the evaluation team, project decision makers, architectural stakeholders, and also we discussed about outputs of the ATAM. We are having different types of perspectives. We expect the outputs of the particular ATAM system. We also discussed each and every one. So in this class, we are going to learn about the phases of the ATAM. Okay. So here we are having the four types of phases, activities in the ATAM based system, ATAM based evaluation system. So these are the four phases as we said in the previous: phase 0, phase 1 and 2 and phase 3. So here we are going to discuss about phase 0. So in phase 0, what will happen and what is going on, we need to see here. So the first one, phase 0. In phase 0, that is a partnership and preparation. Okay, that is the partnership and preparation phase. The evaluation team leadership and the key project decision makers informally meet to work out the details of the exercise. So in this phase 0, the partnership and preparation is main important. So here the evaluation team leadership and the key project decision makers, evaluation team leadership members and project decision makers, they are informally meet, ఫార్మల్లీ ఇన్ఫార్మల్లీ అంటే ఏంటి, అఫీషియల్గా అన్అఫీషియల్గా కూడా అని ఇన్ఫార్మల్లీ మీట్ టు వర్క్ అవుట్ ద డీటెయిల్స్ ఆఫ్ ద ఎక్సర్సైజ్. సో ఏ విధంగా మనం వర్క్ చేయాలి, ఏ విధంగా అనే దాని మీద ఎక్సర్సైజ్ చేయడానికి దే ఆర్ ఇన్ఫార్మల్లీ మీట్. హూస్ మీట్ ఇన్ఫార్మల్లీ? లీడర్, టీమ్ లీడర్స్ అండ్ డెసిషన్ project decision makers to work out. The project representatives brief the evaluators about the project. These project representatives ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో they will give the brief explanation to the particular evaluators of the particular project, so that the team can be supplemented by people who possess the appropriate expertise. Okay na, totally the team can be supplemented the people. So finally what they discussed, what they are discussed together, that is the meaning of partnership and preparation. Okay na, here the partners who are team leadership members, evaluation team leadership members and project evaluators members. Okay na, they are discussed together, they can process something, they can work out on particular project according to the evaluation. So they finally they can supplemented the people who possesses the appropriate expertises. Okay, together the two groups agree on logistics and rules and something such as the time and place of meetings. They can decided where we need to meet in which time. They are agreed on some logistics. Who brings the flip charts and who supplies the donuts and coffee, and the people they can discuss means is the example. Who brings the flip charts means who give this ఆపర్చునిటీ, మీరేం ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు, మేమేమిటి మీద ఫోకస్ చేస్తున్నాం, మేమేం మీకు సర్వే ప్రొవైడ్ చేయగలము, దట్ ఈస్ ద మీనింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. హూ బ్రింగ్స్ ద ఫ్లిప్ చార్ట్స్ అండ్ హూ సప్లైస్ ద డోనట్స్ అండ్ కాఫీ. Okay, they also agree on a preliminary list of stakeholders. So they also agree on preliminary list of stakeholders by name, not just role. And they negotiate on when the final report is to be delivered and to whom. So they can negotiate అంత ఇప్పుడు ఇనీషియల్ డిస్కషన్లో ఎప్పుడు మనము డెలివరీ చేస్తాము, ఎవరికి డెలివరీ చేస్తాము అనేది నెగోషియబుల్. ఇక్కడ ఏమ్స్ మీరేం వర్కౌట్ చేస్తారు, మీరేం సప్లై చేస్తారు, హౌ వీ కెన్ వర్క్ టుగెదర్ అనేది ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఓకేనా, దట్ ఈస్ ద మెయిన్ థింగ్. నెక్స్ట్, they handle formalities such as a statement of work or non-disclosure agreements. Okay na, they here in this meet they can in this phase they handle formalities. What are the formalities they are having together apart from the project with logistics? Okay na, according to rules. Okay na, that is they can formalities such as statements of work, which type of work, which type of statements we need to provide, and non disclosures agreements, ఏవైతే అగ్రిమెంట్స్ ఉంటాయో వాళ్ళ మధ్య ఆ ప్రాజెక్ట్ని డీల్ చేయడానికి, ఆ ప్రాజెక్ట్ని ప్రిపేర్ చేయడానికి, ఎవాల్యుయేట్ చేయడానికి. సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఫార్మాలిటీస్ అండ్ వాట్ ఆర్ ద నాన్ డిస్క్లోజర్ అగ్రిమెంట్స్ ఉంటాయో అవి దే కెన్ హ్యాండిల్, అండ్ దే వర్క్ అవుట్ డెలివరీ టు ద ఎవాల్యుయేషన్ టీమ్ ఫర్ whatever architectural documentation exists and may be useful. Okay na, they can work out delivery of the evaluation team. Okay na, and also whatever architectural documentation exists, what the architectural documentation is exist and may be useful, and all they can work out. And finally, the evaluation team leader explains what information the manager and architect will be expected to show during phase 1. సో ఫేజ్ 1లో ఏ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పెక్టేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఏ టైప్ ఆఫ్ అవుట్పుట్స్ని వాళ్ళు ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఏ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ దే నీడ్ టు ఇవాల్యుయేట్. So finally the team leader will explain that information to the manager and architect will be expected to show during phase 1 and helps them construct their presentation if necessary. That is will be happening in phase 0, and phase 1 and phase 2 are the evaluation phases. Phase 1 phase 0 is the participation and presentation phase. సో ఎలా ప్రజెంట్ చేయాలి, మనం ఎలా పార్టిసిపేట్ చేయాలి, ఏ వర్క్ ఎవరు చేయాలి, ఎలా అలాట్ చేసుకోవాలి, దట్ ఈస్ ఏమేమి మనం రూల్ ఫార్మాలిటీస్ ఉన్నాయి, ఏమేమి నాన్ డిస్క్లోజర్ అగ్రిమెంట్స్ ఉన్నాయి, సో ఏమేమి ప్రిలిమినరీ లిస్ట్ ఉంది స్టేక్ హోల్డర్స్కి, సో ఎలా ఫైనల్ రిపోర్ట్స్ ఉండాలి, సో ఎవరికి సబ్మిట్ చేయాలి, సో అనేవి సమ్ నెగ్లిజిబుల్ ఉన్నా దే కెన్ డిస్కస్ ఫ్రమ్ ద స్టార్టింగ్ స్టెప్ ఆన్వర్డ్స్ టుగెదర్. So in the phase 2, that is phase 1 and phase 2 together here, both are the evaluation phases. Both are the evaluation phases. That is where everyone gets down to the business of analysis. So ekkadaithe ee evaluation phase ekkada enter avutundante everywhere everyone gets down to the business of evaluation. Okay, by now the evaluation team will have studied the architecture documentation. So in this phase the architecture documentation is studied by the evaluation team and will have a good idea of what the system is about. So they can get the knowledge while studied the particular architecture documentation, so they will get good idea what is the system, so it is okay na, and how it will works, what is the functionalities of this system, what are the attributes of this quality attributes of the system, which type of implementations are having in this system. They can study it and get good ideas about the particular system, what the system it is. Okay na, the overall architecture approaches taken, so and also they can take in some overall architectural approaches and the quality attributes that are of paramount importance. Ikkada kuda they can give the importance to quality attributes. During phase 1, the evaluation team meets with the project decision makers. In this evaluation team means during phase 1 the evaluation team meets which persons, project decision makers, usually for about a day. సో రోజుకు ఒక రోజైనా మీట్ అవుతూ ఉంటారు కంపల్సరీ. డ్యూరింగ్ ఫేజ్ 1 ద ఎవాల్యుయేషన్ టీమ్ మీట్స్ విత్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ డెసిషన్ మేకర్స్. ఓకేనా, యూజువల్లీ once a day to begin information gathering and analysis. So they can begin they can begin gathering information and analyzing on the particular extracted information. They can be analyzing and information in between these two teams. What are those? The particular evaluation team people and project decision makers. For phase 2, during phase 2, the architecture stakeholders, the third team, the architecture stakeholders join the proceedings and analysis continues, typically of for 2 days. 2 days each once. They expect steps of phase 1 and phase 2 are detailed in the next session. Okay, that is in this phase 2 the architectural stakeholders are joined in the proceedings and analysis will be continue here typically for 2 days. Okay, and phase 3 is follow up phase. Phase 3 is the follow up phase in which the evaluation team produces and delivers a written final report. Okay, now here the evaluation team produces and delivers a final written report. The uh, essence of this phase, however, is team self examine and improvements. Here the team self examine and uh, improvement during a post mortem మీటింగ్. సో ఇక్కడ మనకి ఏంటంటే ఫైనల్ రిపోర్ట్ కాబట్టి దట్ ఈస్ ద మీనింగ్ ఆఫ్ డ్యూరింగ్ పోస్ట్ మార్టం మీటింగ్. అంటే ఆల్ పోస్ట్ మార్టం మీన్స్ వాట్, ఎనీ ఫాల్స్ అండ్ డిఫాల్స్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ విల్ బి చెక్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ unwanted will be deleted, everything will be neat clean observation. That is what I want to say in single. They can, however, it's is a team self examination and improvement during a post mortem meeting. The team discuss what went well and what did not. సో ఈ టీం ఏం డిస్కస్ చేస్తుంది, ఏది మనం బెటర్గా చేయగలము, ఓకేనా, ఏం మనము చేయకూడదు అనేది. దే స్టడీడ్ ద సర్వేస్ హ్యాండెడ్ అవుట్ ద participants during phase 1 and phase 2 and the process observe makes his or her report. So phase 1 and phase 2 జరిగేటప్పుడే they can survey something, okay na, according to observation, their observations. They can based on that they can make the report. These team members look for improvements in how they carry out their functions so that the next evaluation can be smoother or more effective. So ఈ టీమ్ ఇక్కడ ఈ ఫాలో అప్ టీమ్ అనేది ఎప్పుడు ఈ రిపోర్ట్స్ని ఫాలో అప్ చేస్తూనే ఉంటుంది. దెన్ ద టీమ్ మెంబర్స్ లుక్ ఫర్ ఇంప్రూవ్మెంటేషన్. ఓకేనా, ఎవ్రీ టైమ్ దే కెన్ సీ ఫర్ ఇంప్రూవింగ్ the results. Okay, better reports they want. Okay, now while they observing the things during phase 1 and phase 2, so they always they can follow up the outputs of while during phase 1 and phase 2. Based on that they can generate the reports. Based on the reports they can give the suggestions to that members. They can always be focusing on the improvements, how they carry out their functions. మనం ఎలా functions ని మనం carry out చేయాలి, and what is the next evaluation process, how smooth we can carry out it, how it will be effective in the results. So always they can follow up. That is a follow up. Okay na. So in this we can the phase 0 and phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3 we can discuss. The team catalogs how much effort was spent during the evaluation. The team is also catalogs how much effort was spent during the evaluation. Evaluation చేసేటప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ఎంత టైం స్పెండ్ చేస్తున్నారు, దానికి ఏ ఐడియాస్ వాళ్ళు ఫాలో అప్ చేసుకున్నారు, ఏవే ఇంప్రూవ్మెంట్స్ వాళ్ళు తీసుకున్నారు, ఇవన్నీ కూడా వాళ్ళ కెటలాగ్ని ప్రిపేర్ చేసుకుంటారు. ఆన్ ద పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఈచ్ ఆఫ్ ద 3 participating groups, on the part of the each 3 participating groups after an appropriate number of months. So the team leader contacts the evaluation client be the long term efforts, okay na, to get the long term efforts for the exercise so that cost and benefits can be compared. So he always టీమ్ లీడర్ ఏవైతే టీమ్ లీడర్ ఉన్నారో ఈ టీమ్ లీడర్ అనేది ఆల్వేస్ కాంటాక్ట్ ద ఇవాల్యుయేషన్ క్లయింట్. ఓకేనా, ఇవాల్యుయేషన్ టీమ్తో ఎప్పుడు అతను కాంటాక్ట్లోనే ఉంటాడనమాట. ఈ లాంగ్ టైమ్ ఎఫర్ట్స్ మీద డిస్కస్ చేయడానికి ఎలా గ్యాక్ చేయగలము, లాంగ్ టైమ్ ఎఫర్ట్స్ మీద ఎక్సర్సైజ్ ఎలా చేయగలము. సో ఈ అలాంగ్ విత్ కాస్ట్ అండ్ బెనిఫిట్స్ని కూడా కంపేర్ చేసుకుంటూ దే కెన్ డెవలప్ ద పర్టికులర్ మోడల్స్. దట్ ఈస్ ద మెయిన్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఓకేనా, మనకి ఎఫిషియన్సీ ఇంపార్టెంట్, మనకి క్వాలిటీ ఇంపార్టెంట్, దానికి ఫంక్షనాలిటీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఒక సిస్టమ్కి. అలాంగ్ విత్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీ ద లాంగ్ టర్మ్ అంటే లైఫ్ లాంగ్ కూడా ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఓకేనా, ఒక ప్రోడక్ట్కి అలాంగ్ విత్ కస్టమర్స్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ లో చూస్తే కస్టమర్స్ ఎలా ఉంటారు, కాస్ట్ మీద వాళ్ళు ఫోకస్ చేస్తారు. వాళ్ళకి కాస్ట్ తక్కువగా ఉండాలి, బెటర్గా ఉండాలి, బెనిఫిట్ ఉండాలి, కాస్ట్ అండ్ చీప్ అండ్ బెస్ట్ అని అనుకుంటారు. అలా కూడా కంపేర్ చేసుకునే పాయింట్స్ మీద ఈజ్ ఆల్వేస్ బీ కాంటాక్ట్ విత్ ద పర్టికులర్ ఇవాల్యుయేషన్ client. Okay na, that is the main use of this particular groups phases. Okay na, according to phase 0 they can meet. Okay na, how when we need to meet and what time, which type of formalities we need to take, which type of steps we need to take, and which type of evaluation we need to take, how to work out, so and how to take based on existing document they can think about the evaluation information they can gather. They can always be explains the information to the managers, and architect will be expected to how to show during phase 1, and how helps to construct the presentations it's necessary, and which type of sources is given to you to develop the particular projects, and all they can discuss them sitting, they can make one sitting. Okay na, in this based on that they can do it in this particular phase 0, that is partnership and presentation. In this, who is the partners? The evaluation team leaders and key project decision makers. Here phase 1 and phase 2 evaluation phase, how we can everyone gets down business of analysis. Okay na, how we can implement it. Okay na, they can evaluation team will study the architecture well, and architecture documentation, existing architecture documentation well, and have been good they based on they while studying they got some good ideas of what is the system it is. Okay now, how what is the overview of this system it is, how we can take the next improvement approaches, how we can improve the qualities, how we can give the importance of this. They can also during phase 1 and during phase 2 they can focusing on different types of things. They in this during phase 1 the evaluation team meets with the project decision makers about beginning information gathering and analysis. In phase 2 the architecture stakeholder joins with the proceedings, and analysis is going to be continued. So then the follow-up team is there. The follow-up team is always be delivered the written reports, final written reports to the evaluation team. So they can always be observe what is during in phase 1 and what is during in phase 2, and also they can clean observation, they can putting and team itself examine and improving the quality about things, and they also discussed with the particular members and what we need to do, what not to do, and also they can handle some participants, and also they can give some generate some reports always. So the team members is always look for improvements for and also they can make some their own functions. So what next we need to evaluate, and how we can improve the effectiveness in smoothly and all. So everyone having their own coordination together. So next we are discussing the internal points of in detail, that is the steps of the evaluation phase. Steps of the evaluation phase. Phase 0 is just a participation and presentation, that is just the first meet what we need to follow. That is a very important. This is the evaluation phase is very important. So we need to in this ATAM analysis phase. So that is called phase 1 and phase 2. That evaluation phase is also nothing but phase 1 and phase 2 combinedly. That is the ATAM analysis phase consists of 9 steps. This phase 1 and phase 2, the evaluation phase consists of how many steps? 9 steps. So these 9 steps is what we are having in each and every step. We can see here. Step 1 through step 6 are carried out in phase 1 and in phase 2. Okay, step 1 and step 6 are carried out in phase 1. In phase 2, with all stakeholders present. స్టెప్ 1 నుంచి స్టెప్ 6 వరకు మనకు phase 1లో ఉంటుంది. In phase 2 with all stakeholders present, those steps are summarized and step 7 through 9 are carried out. Okay, now those steps are summarized and steps 7 through 9 are carried out. Okay, now these 1 to 6 steps వచ్చేసి carried in phase 1. phase 2లో వచ్చేసి మనకి సమ్మరైజ్డ్ స్టెప్స్ ఉంటాయి. దే కెన్ క్యారీడ్ అవుట్ త్రూ 7 through 9. ఓకేనా. ద అనాలిసిస్ స్టెప్స్ ఆర్ నార్మల్లీ క్యారీడ్ అవుట్ ఇన్ sequential order according to a set agenda. ఈ sequential analysis steps అనేవి they can carried out normally in sequential order, so according to the set agenda. So ఎలా మనం agenda means what, according to we need to follow what is what and first and what is next. This is an agenda, this is a protocol. Okay, now that is called always been a sequential order according to that agenda, but sometimes there must be dynamic modifications to be scheduled to accommodate personal availability or architectural information. Sometimes some dynamic decisions will be taken in organizations also, like sometimes they can change some dynamic changes or modifications to the schedule according to particular personal availability or architectural information. Every evaluation is unique. Every evaluation is unique. So every approach is different, that is meaning, and there may be times when the team returns briefly to an earlier step, jumps forward to a later steps, or iterates among steps and the need dictates. Okay na. So the every evaluation is unique. So and there may be times when the teams returns briefly to an earlier steps. Sometimes they can return to the earlier steps, ముందర స్టెప్స్ మనము జంప్ చేస్తాము, లేదా జంప్స్ టు ద ఫార్వర్డ్ టు ఏ లేటర్ స్టెప్స్ అండ్ ఆర్ ఇటరేట్ అమాంగ్ ద స్టెప్స్. So which steps we need to check. We will sometimes we will go for earlier steps, sometimes we will jump forward to a later steps. So like this. Okay now, that is and also we need to sometimes we need to iterate among the steps as the need detects according to the needs, according to the necessity. So we need to go for the different in 9 steps లో మనం ఏ steps కైనా మనము అప్డేట్ చేసుకుంటూ వెళ్తాము according to steps. Sometimes we will go for earlier steps, sometimes we will go jump for forward steps, and also we need to iterate for among all steps, so as we need. And according to step 1, present the ATAM. Step 1 is present the ATAM. The first step calls for the evaluation leader to present the ATAM to the assembled project representatives. Okay now. So these steps calls the evaluation leader so to present the ATAM to assembled project representatives. We need to assemble the project representatives. It calls the particular evaluation leaders to present the ATAM. This time is used to explain the process that everyone will be following, and to answer questions, and to set the context and expectations for the remainder for the యాక్టివిటీస్. ఈ స్టెప్లోనే సో లైక్ క్వశ్చన్స్ అండ్కి ఆన్సర్స్ కానీ, లేకపోతే కంటెక్స్ట్ కానీ, ఓవరాల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆఫ్ ద పర్టికులర్ మోడల్ కానీ ఎక్స్పెక్టేషన్స్ కానీ వాళ్ళకి రిమైండ్ చేయడం అమాంగ్ ద యాక్టివిటీస్ ఇట్ విల్ బి హ్యాపెన్ ఇన్ దిస్ step. Using a standard presentation, the leader will describe the ATAM steps is briefly and the outputs of the evaluation. See, in this standard presentation, the leaders will describe the ATAM steps. Here the leaders will explain the ATAM steps in brief, and also the evaluation outputs also they can be present. And step 2, present business drivers. Here we can present the business drivers in the step 2. Everyone involved in the evaluation, okay, that is must and should here. The in different phases lo different team members yokka participation అనేది compulsory. That's the meaning of everyone involved in the evaluation. The project representatives as well as the evaluation team members needs to understand the context of a system and the primary business drivers motivating its development. So according to this participation, according to this involvement of the particular persons like evaluation team members kani project representatives kani, they need to understand the context. So what is what? Context means what? Overview of the diagram. So what is what? Context for the system and the primary business drivers motivating its development. In this step, a project decision makers presents a system overview from a business perspective. These ఎవరైతే ప్రాజెక్ట్ డెసిషన్ మేకర్స్ ఉంటారో సో they can present system overview from a business perspective. The presentation should describe the following. How this what they can present, this presentation should be described like this. So what they can describe, the system's most important function. They described about the system's most important functions. Okay, now what are the important functions, main functions of a particular system they can discuss here, and any relevant technical, managerial, ఎకనామిక్ ఆర్ పొలిటికల్ కన్స్ట్రెంట్స్. మనకు ప్రాజెక్ట్ని చేయాలి అంటే కంపల్సరీ ఈ టెక్నికల్ రిలవెంట్ అంటే దానికి ఆ ఫంక్షన్స్కి అవసరమైనటువంటి థింగ్స్, ఓకేనా, టెక్నికల్ రీజన్స్ కానీ ఏమేమి టూల్స్ వాడాలి, ఏమేమి సాఫ్ట్వేర్స్ వాడాలి, మేనేజరియల్ సైడ్ కానీ ఎకనామిక్ సైడ్ కానీ మనీ పరంగా కానీ లేదా పొలిటికల్, మనం ఏదైనా ఒక ప్రాజెక్ట్ చేయాలి అంటే ఒక ప్రాజెక్ట్ని క్రియేట్ చేయాలన్నా ఒక ప్రాజెక్ట్ని మనము అగ్రిమెంట్ చేసుకోవాలన్నా ద పొలిటికల్ ఇష్యూస్ అనేవి కూడా చాలా ఉంటాయి. వీ విల్ గెట్ ద అథెంటికేటెడ్ సర్టిఫికేట్ ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ పొలిటికల్ వర్షన్ ఆల్సో, ఓకేనా, ఎలాంటి ఇష్యూస్ లేకుండా చూసుకోవాలి. అండ్ దే కెన్ దే ఎనీ రిలవెంట్ టెక్నికల్, managerial, economic or political constraints, and also the business goals and context as they relate to the project. And also they can discuss about business goals, what are the business goal and what is the context related to the particular project. And also the major is the stakeholders. They also consider the stakeholders requirements. Once they are going to prepare a project, it's mainly gather the requirements of the stakeholders. Here the stakeholders are different persons, as I said in the previously, either they are developers, they are the architect, they are the users, they are the clients. Those persons are called as the stakeholders. Majorly we can consider the requirements and requirements of the particular stakeholder. That is the major thing while developing the particular project. And the architectural drivers also we need to focus on this particular architectural drivers. That is the major quality attribute goals that shapes the architecture. That is what are the drivers, the major quality attributes goals that shapes what architecture. These are the main things they are presenting. The presentation should describe the following. Who will present these? The project decision makers. They can present the system overview from a business perspective. This presentation should be the following. What are those, ma? So the system's most important functions, about technical, managerial, economic, political constraints and business goals and context related to the project and major stakeholders and architectural drivers. These all can make the shape to the particular architecture. And in the step 3, present architecture. Okay, now then here in the step 3 we can present the architecture. Here the lead architect, I mean lead means experienced architect or architecture team or architecture team. ఒక పర్సన్ అయినా ఉండొచ్చు, లేకపోతే అతనితో పాటు అదర్ పర్సన్స్ అయినా ఉండొచ్చు. The lead architecture or a team of him makes a presentation describing the architecture at an appropriate level of details. They can describing the architecture with the appropriate level of details. And the appropriate level depends on several factors. The appropriate level depend, approximate వేరు, appropriate వేరు. ఓకేనా, అప్రాక్సిమేట్ అంటే ఇది ఫిక్స్, ఇది ఇంతే. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ 1 year how many months, 12 months, that is approximate. Appropriate means what, 1 month contains sometimes 4 weeks ఉండొచ్చు, sometimes 5 Sundays రావచ్చు, that is approximate, maybe it will be. ఓకేనా, that is ఈ సమ్టైమ్స్ ఈ ఒక 30 daysలో అవ్వచ్చు అప్రాక్సిమేట్గా, ఒక లేకపోతే ఈ ప్రాజెక్ట్ 3 monthsలో అవ్వచ్చు అప్రాక్సిమేట్గా అని చెప్పడానికి. 90 days 120 days 80 to 90 days, దట్ ఈజ్ ఒక ఫిక్స్డ్ కాదు, ఒక అజంప్షన్. The appropriate level depends on several factors. What are those factors? How much of the architecture has been designed and documented? How much of the architecture has been designed and documented? మనం ఎంత ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ని మనము డిజైన్ చేయగలము, ఎంత మన ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ని మనము డాక్యుమెంట్ చేయగలము. అండ్ హౌ మచ్ టైమ్ ఈజ్ అవైలబుల్, how much time is available for us, and the nature of the behavioral and quality requirement. And also they can mainly focusing on the these factor, behavioral and quality requirements. This appropriate level depends on several factors. The most factors are the architecture, how the architecture is going to be designed and documented, how much time is available, and nature of the behavioral and quality requirements. They mainly focusing on those factors. In this presentation, the architect covers technical constraints such as operating system, hardware or middleware prescribed for use, and other systems with which the system must interact. So in this presentation, the architect mainly covers the technical constraints. Technical constraint means which type of resources we require, means operating system, ఏ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ మనం యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాం, ఏమేమి రీసోర్సెస్ మనకు కావాలి, హార్డ్వేర్ ఆర్ మిడిల్ వేర్ ప్రజెంటెడ్ ఫర్ యూస్, హార్డ్వేర్ రీసోర్సెస్, ఓకేనా, ఆర్ మిడిల్ వేర్ రీసోర్సెస్ ఆర్ అదర్ సిస్టమ్స్ with the system must interact, how the system is must interact with other systems. This will be mainly presented in this particular portion. Most important, the architect describes the architectural approaches. The most and foremost important thing is in this presentation, the architect most describes the architectural approaches. Approaches means which type of patterns we need to use, అంటే ఏ స్టైల్స్ మనం యూస్ చేయాలి. ఆల్రెడీ మనం 7 types of pipes and filters ఇవన్నీ యూస్ చేసాం కదా, అలా ఏ టైప్ ఆఫ్ మనం ఆర్కిటెక్చరల్ అప్రోచెస్ మనం యూస్ చేసి డిస్క్రైబ్ యూస్ చేయాలి, అవన్నీ ఇక్కడ డిస్క్రైబ్ చేస్తాడు ఆర్కిటెక్ట్. ఏ ప్యాటర్న్స్ యూస్ చేయాలి, ఇఫ్ ద ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ ఈజ్ ఫ్లూయెంట్ ఇన్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ vocabulary and use it to meet the requirements. These all approaches mainly to meet the requirements of the stakeholders, and also to make the most of limited time, and also to make the most of takku time lo they need to implement it. The architect's presentation should have high signal to noise ratio, high signal to noise ratio. That is, it should convey the essence of the architecture and not stray into actually erase for deliver too deeply into the details for just few approaches. And it should give the convey to the essence of the architecture, ఏంటి ఇందులో ఉంది అనేది ఇస్తుందని, ఇట్స్ నాట్ గివ్ ద డీటెయిల్డ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ in this earlier stage. Thus it is extremely helpful to brief the architect beforehand about the information the evaluation team requires. And as may see As may be see in the presentation template, we expect architectural views. Every architecture has its own views. Already we know that. Okay, na? As describes the primary vehicle for the architect to convey the architecture. These views can give the description to the particular architect how to convey the particular architecture. Context diagrams and component and connectors views and module decomposition and layered views. Already we have different types of views. What are those? Context views, context diagrams and component and connector views and module views. Those are also called as module decomposition and layered views. And the deployment view are useful in the almost every evaluation, and the architect should be prepared to show them. So here you can be mainly focusing on template. This template mainly expect the architectural views. So it can describes the primary vehicle for this architecture, these views. So these are different types of views as we learned: context diagram views and component and connectors views and module views and some deployment views and all. Other views can be presented if they contain information relevant to the architecture at hand. Okay, okay, other views also here they need to consider, especially information relevant to achieving important quality attribute goals. ఎందుకు మనము ఇన్ని టైప్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూస్ మనము అబ్జర్వ్ ప్రజెంట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ టేక్ చేయాలి, ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ మనం స్టడీ చేయాలి, దాన్ని యూస్ చేసుకోవాలంటే దే కెన్ గివ్ ద రిలవెంట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ టు అచీవింగ్ ద quality attribute goals. As a rule of thumb, the architect should present the views at he or she found most important during the creation of the architecture. Main rule enti, thumb rule enti ante, the architecture they need to should present the views at he or she found most important during the creation of the architecture. And during the presentation, the evaluation team asks for clarification based on their phase 0 examination of the architecture documentation and their knowledge of the business drivers from the previous step. They also listen for and write down any architectural tactics or patterns they see employed. And also the fourth step is identify architectural approaches. As next comes use and next approaches. The ATAM focus on analyzing an architecture by understanding its architectural approaches. The architectural patterns are useful for the known ways in which each one affects particular quality attributes. According to this approaches, according to these patterns, they will mostly affect the quality attributes. A layered pattern tends to bring portability to a system, possibly at the expense of performance. A data repository pattern is useful, scalable in number of procedures and consumers of data. And also it may be the evaluation team will have good idea what patterns and approaches the architect used in designing the system, and they will have studied the architecture documentation, and they will have heard the architect's presentation in step 3. During the step, the architect is asked to explicitly name the patterns and approaches used, but the team should also be adopt at stopping one not mentioned. Okay, na? Like this they can follow this analysis, they can performing identifying architectural approaches. And also in this step the evaluation team simply catalogs the patterns and approaches that are evident. Okay, now that is more important for based on that they can perform the analysis. Fifth step is generate quality attribute utility trees. This is very important, how to generate the quality utility trees. So here they can follow some steps. Okay, now these steps we need to see in the next class. Okay, I hope all you understood remaining the 9 steps we discussed about some 5 to 6 steps here. So the next class we are going to discuss about the remaining steps. And I hope all you understood the 9 steps of the particular evaluation phase among 6 steps we discussed here. Thank you one and all.